This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Goal Boys Network. Here's your host, Will Hill.
Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Goal Boys. Coming up on the show, Mitch Moss will join me to discuss the divisional round, some NFL bets, some college bets. I did record with him before what was just an incredible win by the Mets. Last we talked, the Mets were up 1-0. I told you I thought they'd close it out in 2, but if not 2, then 3. And that prediction was 3 outs away from being wrong in what would have been a heartbreaking series for the Mets. I basically, was going through my head, waiting for the final few outs of what I was going to say. Hey, great season, no matter what. You would have liked to get that 4-3 lead in game 2 on home, but hey, you can't kill them too much because 11 games under 500. This was all gravy. They lose Senga. Good year regardless, but that is going to wait. That eulogy has not been written completely yet because the Mets are moving on to the divisional round. They will play the Phillies in what was just an incredible win for the Mets. Down 2-0. I mean, the game is scoreless for the better part of the game. In 7th inning, Brewers go back-to-back on back-to-back pitches. And once they hit one homer in a game like this, oh, man, the Mets haven't sniffed a run all night. Lindor had a leadoff double in the first, but other than that, it's just been 1-2-3 with bad at-bats. The next pitch is a homer. It's 2-0. Mets go quietly in the 8th. They get the leadoff guy in the 9th, and then you're just thinking, hey, it's been a magical team. Tying runs at the plate. All you need is one swing. Nimmo gets on base, and then Alonso, who has been bad, dropped a pop-up that could have cost him because it was 2nd and 3rd in the 7th, and that was like a forgotten play in this game. Alonso drops a pop-up with 2nd and 3rd and 2 out. A base hit would have made it 4-0 and put this pretty much out of reach, although the Mets did adding on another run to get to 4. Alonso hits a opposite field home run. I thought off the bat it had a chance. Alonso, if you watch the replay, you could tell he knew he got it. And the Mets add a run, win the game 4-2. Of course, it's never too easy with the Mets. Leadoff guy gets on, but a strikeout, a quick double play, and you go from being nervous up 4-2 with the tying run on to the game being over in the blink of an eye, and the Mets move on. I'm excited for this Mets-Phillies series. I'm happy for the Mets fans. I was going to feel bad for them because this would have been a bad loss just to lose this series when, hey, you're up 1-0 in the series. You're up 3-1 in game 2. You're up 4-3 in the 8th. Should have pulled the pitcher early. That is all a thing of the past. Just a great win, and what a gutty team this Mets team is. And boy, I mean, the Phillies are the better team, and as I'm recording this, I mean, they're still celebrating. So lines, I'm sure, will start to pop up. I will guess the Phillies are somewhere in the like minus. I don't know that you can make a minus $2. Probably in that range, a little under. I guess Philly minus 180 or so. Wheeler will be a big favorite in game 1, probably minus 160, 170. And then a similar price, maybe a little higher for the series. It'll be interesting to see what they set that line at, but just an incredible win here for the Mets. Happy for them, really. Just a great run this has been, and I would not be shocked if they beat Philly's a better team. Philly's got Wheeler, got a good home field, a great lineup, a deeper team, a team without a lot of holes in it. They've been, in my mind, even though the Dodgers finished with the better record, kind of the favorite on paper, at least, to come out of the National League, just because of all the Dodgers pitching issues with all their pitching injuries. And Philly, I just feel like it's more solid, but I would not be surprised. I've been saying it, for a few days now, a couple of weeks, that this Mets team has something going, and I would not count them out. So good for the Mets. These other series, Detroit and Cleveland, this series looks a little short. This price looks a little short. It's Bybee in game 1. Detroit hasn't even announced the starter. Cleveland minus 120 for the series. I think the series price is a little short because I know you're getting Skubal twice, but other than Skubal, there is not a lot of, there's not a lot that you love about this Tiger team. I'm not dying to step in front of this team with all of their, recent karma, but I have a feeling this is where the party ends for the Tigers. And Royals, Yankees minus 215. I would never in a million years lay it. This is set up well for the Yankees to not only win this game, but punch their way to the first World Series in 15 years. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's the Yankees and 3 teams from the AL Central. It's the Tigers, it's the Guardians, it's the Royals. No Houston, no Baltimore. I know they've got their issues, some holes in the lineup. Rizzo hurts. You don't really have a first baseman, and Rizzo could at least pick it at first where, hey, he doesn't hit anymore. He's awful at the plate. He's an automatic out, but at least he's got good hands. and he can, save errors and give you some stability at first. Rice can't hit, and he's not a good defender. So they don't have a first baseman. They've got issues getting the last 6-9 outs of a game. Third star, I mean, I can go on and on. And maybe as I'm talking about this, maybe I shouldn't be so sure. But you do have Judge and Soto and Cole and enough with Stanton, and I would imagine Dominguez is a factor here. And the rest of these teams are just not that good. And as I'm talking here, FanDuel has posted Phillies minus 188 for game one. We'll see if we get a series price here shortly. I wouldn't lay it with the Yankees. If anything, I mean, could you tell me there's value on KC? I mentioned last round I liked both dogs. I mean, I couldn't understand. Hey, the Yankees are unstable. I'm going to take a shot at just price wise on Kansas City. I understand that, but I ultimately think that the Yankees win this series and win the next two series and go to a World Series. And boy, everyone's picking the Padres over the Dodgers. Dodgers minus 140. I understand it. Padres have a ton of pitching. Musgrove gets hurt, but the back of the bullpen's really good. They've got an explosive lineup. It does feel a little reminiscent of that series 2 years ago where they met in the same round and the Padres extinguished them in 4 games. Could you see a similar thing happening this year? I absolutely could. I do feel like LA's being discounted a little bit. We're like, man, I haven't heard one person pick LA. It is Yamamoto going in game one versus Cease. I think the Padres win. I think the Padres win. I will pick the Padres like everybody else. I will pick Padres like everybody else, and I think it's going to be Padres Mets. I really do. I think it's going to be Padres Mets. I think I will give the Mets. I'll pick the Mets again. I'll just ride the hot hand here. I think this Mets team has something special going. So, I mean, could you see a chalk World Series of Yankees, Phillies, Yankees, Dodgers after all the unpredictability of the last couple of years? Sure, but I'll stick with the chalk on the American League side and the Yankees, and I'm going to stick with the Mets here as they move on. Boy, what a win! What a win! What a shocking just season and a strange season for the Mets. So many ups, so many downs. The quirkiness of that doubleheader on Monday. Go from Milwaukee to Atlanta, right back to Milwaukee. Looks like it's going to be easy in 2 games. Have to come from behind in game 3. And how about this stat? Devin Williams gave up 3 runs all season, and he gave up 4 runs in this game. That is hard to believe. Absolutely just incredible stuff here from the Mets. But that's the baseball. I'll spend plenty of time on it Monday, recapping all the action. Boy, what a weekend this is. Playoff baseball Saturday and Sunday. We got nothing Friday, which, okay. I mean, I get it. It didn't really work out perfectly. And boy, if the Mets had closed this out in 2, we would have had Thursday off and Friday off, and you'd been dying for a game on Friday. But Saturday it starts. So Saturday and Sunday, all of the baseball. And mix that in with the college football, the NFL. What a hell of a weekend and what a sports time of the year. Quickly, NFL picks. There's one game in college I like. I do like UNLV plus. I'm sorry, Syracuse plus 6.5 against UNLV. I think that's a lot of points. I believe that's a Friday night game. Syracuse has a good quarterback, a good passing game, and UNLV, this quarterback played well last week, but that was his first game. Now there's some film on him. It's a little bit of a gimmicky offense. I'm surprised that line is 6.5. So that's the one I like, I think, the most in college. And I'll throw in one more, actually. I think UConn absolutely buries Temple. That line is 17. UConn minus 17. UConn's played well here. Moore is a good coach. He's got that program in the right direction. And Temple is awful. So I will lay it with UConn. Those are the college picks. Quickly, NFL. I like Cleveland plus 3.5 against Washington. I just think this is a little bit of an overreaction. Like, man, we're really going to favor Washington by more than a field goal against anybody now. I don't know about that. You're finally going to play a better defense than you've seen in the past few weeks, and you're getting some points here. I actually didn't think Watson was awful last week, so I think I could see this being a 3-point game either way. I will take Cleveland plus the 3.5. I will take the Saints plus 5.5 against the Chiefs too, because I look, the Chiefs, no Pacheco, no Rice. The Chiefs never seem to cover these bigger numbers. And this, look, 5.5 in a league of parity, 5.5 is one of the bigger numbers on the board, which is weird to say. But the Saints are 2-2. The Chiefs are 4-0. Those records could easily be flipped. And the Saints lost a couple fluky games, at least one fluky game last week to Atlanta. The Chiefs wins, could have easily been losses. Look, same scenario as the Browns-Washington game, where I could easily see the Chiefs, winning this game, 24-21 with a late field goal, but not covering the number. So Saints plus 5.5, Cleveland plus 3.5. Those are the ones I like the most. It's a weird week. It really is. I'll throw one more in there, a total. It burned me last week, but I'll go back to Steelers under 44.5 with the Cowboys. It's just hard. The way the Steelers play, it's hard to get to 45, 46 points. in terms of like just the Steelers running the ball, good defense. That's a good spot for the Steelers. I expect the Steelers to win the game, and I almost went with the Steelers as one of my picks, but I'll go back with a Steelers under. So those are the 3 picks. Couple in college, and the baseball is the focus here. And what was just a great few days of baseball. It was weird on Thursday after all day baseball Tuesday, all day baseball on Wednesday, games on in the afternoon, multiple games on. It was weird to not have anything during the day. You kind of get used to it quickly. But we only got the 1 game on Thursday, but the 1 game was worth it. What a hell of a game that was. So we will discuss these division series matchups. We will talk some NFL, some college with Mitch Moss. That is next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can catch him on VSiN. He's the host of Follow the Money. He joins us once again. Is Mitch Moss. Mitch, what's up, man? How are you?
Will, love talking to you, man. How are you?
Always well. What a great time of the year. I thought we're recording this before Mets Brewers. I thought all these series were going to be wrapped up. We still have one to get to, but I'll just leave it open to you. What is the series you're most excited about going into the division round?
I have to say the National League, the Padres and the Dodgers. I think it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, there are going to be a lot of people picking the Padres, and that scares me. I have a bet on them at 20-1 to win the National League. And it makes sense, right? They've been the hottest team or one of the hottest teams in baseball for a long time now, since they started at 50-50. And when you look at the overall matchups, it's easy to like them because, it's as clear as day that the advantage that they have on the mound, pitching, the starters. Although Musgrove had to leave the game early last night, still the depth overall and the quality that they have starting. If they can trot Cease out there in game 1, look at the Kings game against the Braves was like his A+ performance, but that dude has been like borderline awesome for most of the year. And I know people out here who I work with, they actually think that he's the true ace of the team ahead of Cease, which is like, wow, Cease can actually be really good as well. And then their hitting has been just awesome. The problem is, are they going to be, if it turns into slugfest, which it's postseason baseball, so you can't expect that. But with how top heavy the Dodgers offense is and how impossible it is to get around the guys at the top, including Ohtani, what if if they show up every single game, which is possible, and the Padres have to outscore them at that point? That's where it comes a little tricky to me.
If you had nothing in pocket, would you take the +120, and are you surprised by the series line?
No, because of the Dodgers pitching. I'm not surprised by the line. And the Padres played them well in the regular season. I would not take the +120 if I had them in pocket. I kicked this around too, the idea of trying to monetize the ticket at this point with other people out here, and they're like, don't do it. They like the Padres against the Dodgers. So we'll see. Still got a day and a half to think about it, what I'm going to do. But I just think it's from an entertainment, put it this way. That game is going to be going up against college football on Saturday. I'm more intrigued by the baseball game than I am with college football.
Yeah, and I'm kind of happy too that we get what is not a great college football slate. I know the one next week is good because, man, it's fun to have all these games, but you can only watch so much. It reminds me like when we had when sports finally came back during the pandemic, and it was like all at once. It was cool to have it all, but man, you only got one set of eyeballs. There's only so much you can take in at a time.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is.
I did this as this is not really a hedge per se, but before the playoffs started, I did bet Ohtani to lead all of the entire postseason in home runs, and that was +550, and then to lead all of postseason in stolen bases at +250 is the number that I got.
There you go. Yeah, no, that is that is a hedge. How about these American League series? I thought Cleveland, Detroit. I know you might get Scooble twice in a 5-game series. I thought this price was a little short. I thought Cleveland would open up, I don't know, -150, -160. We're seeing like $1.20.
I know.
You've talked about Class A for a while. I mean, it's a 7.5 inning game when you need him for 5 or 6 outs or whatever. Good luck trying to score off that guy. Good luck trying to get a base runner off that guy. What are your thoughts here on this series?
I'm with you. I think it's cheap because the Tigers are so hot right now. And look, is it fun to be like betting against that team, or has it been for the last 2 months? No, clearly. The idea of getting Scooble potentially twice is, I think, why that number would be where it is, because they're going to have an edge over any team in baseball when that guy's on the mound. I mean, you can't get anything off him right now. But like you said, looking at overall like numbers with the ERA overall for the bullpen with the Guardians, it's one of the best bullpens we've had in 20, 25 years. If you go based on like ERA and it's not just Class A. Class A is a buzzsaw. You're not going to touch him, but it's the guys who also lead it. So if they can get a lead, let's say that if they can get a couple of runs on the board, get decent starting pitching, and after 5, they're in it, or they can be up by a run, they can flip it to the bullpen, and it's like lights out at this point, and you can really trust them, or you have been able to for a full season. And the number is where it is right now because of the Tigers over the last month and a half to 2 months compared to what the Guardians have done the entire year. I don't know. It just seems like the Guardians are getting no respect here.
Yep, totally with you. How about the other series, Yankees Royals? Yankees up to minus 215 in some spots. I mean, most people aren't going to lay over $2 on anything. And then even if you're inclined to do that, boy, Yankees team is just so up and down that I wouldn't be laying that kind of number here. I get the advantage with Cole and Walker, but what are your thoughts on this series? Do you give Kansas City a chance?
I'd like to, but their offense concerns me. I mean, they just won a 2-game series by scoring 3 runs.
Amazing.
So if that's going to be the case, and their sticks have been now ice cold for a month?
Yeah.
They scored 74 runs in the month of September, and they made the playoffs. I mean, that's embarrassing. Again, I go back to, wild card teams making deep runs. Can they do it? Reagans can be a beast if he can, maybe go a couple times in the series. But we know the Yankees can score. Are you like jaded at all because you follow this team every single day? How do you look at them as a better compared to as a fan right now? Because I wanted to ask you the idea of maybe laying a game and a half with the Yankees against the Royals.
I don't quite trust them, but I'm optimistic. Yeah. I think this was a break. I mean, as up and down as Baltimore was, and boy, I wonder if Hyde's going to get himself fired because he did not manage that series well. I think they caught a break. You don't see Reagans until game 2. You get a nice pitching match. I mean, you should beat the Royals. I know it's a short series. Anything can happen. This is still a Royals team. And look, you got Judge, you got Soto, you got Cole. This is a Royal team that's above, where they expected to be this year, kind of a house money season. I do expect the Yankees to win the series. So I don't mind your game and a half angle.
Yeah, I think that might be my approach to it, as opposed to, like you said, laying more than $2. And if I lose the game and a half, then so be it. But I don't know. I love this Royals team earlier in the season, but man, they're just, at what point are they going to be able to pick it up offensively? Because I can't see them winning a series against the Yankees by it's 3-1 or 2-1 every single. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah. Do you think Hyde survives? Speaking of the Orioles, do you think he's going to get another year or no?
With that organization, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
I mean, they just totally botched it the last 2 years.
Brutal. I mean, they trade for Eflin. They trade for, I know it was a seller's market, and like they weren't aggressive last year. They kind of went one foot in this year, and they had some injuries. But boy, he scored 1 run in 2 games. That is a bad look. Pitching to Witt when you didn't really have to. 2 outs, man, scoring position. I feel like he's going to walk the plank here.
I thought it was clear as day they had to walk Witt in that spot. We were live on the air. We brought it up. We said that. Now, I'll go back to what I said, though. So, yes, they're going to get crushed for not doing anything at the deadline in terms of doing much more than bringing in Zach Eflin. But let's be honest here. Burns did his job in game 1. That's the reason why they went out and got him, right? And made a move for him. And he was phenomenal, but he gave up 1 run and wasn't good enough, which is ridiculous. He almost pitched a complete game. They brought him back out for the 9th. Eflin was fine. He was okay. It was I'm talking about the Royals offense. It was the Orioles offense that went into the tank. So all these guys that they thought that they could rely on and they didn't want to part with, like younger guys or the depth that they have, they couldn't hit. And that was the killer for them this year.
Yep, no doubt about it. And maybe 2-3 years from now, the Orioles are ecstatic they didn't make any more moves, and these guys all blossom, and they have a World Series or 2 to show for it, and it works out. So, we don't know what was offered and what wasn't, but that's these windows close fast. I know they're good and they're young, but man, they got a pass. I thought last year for the way they lost to Texas. Then this is 2 years in a row where, man, you don't get forever to win these.
Yeah. Do you think this is the year that we get a little bit of chalk in the World Series, or phrase a different way? Like, how would you approach betting the exacta market right now?
I think the Yankees get through in the American League. I don't have a great feel for the American League or for the National League. I do think the Yankees get through. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a Yankees-Phillies. I really wouldn't. I think the Phillies, that's a good home field advantage. They've got pitching. They've got Wheeler. Again, we're recording this before Mets-Brewers, so we'll see. I thought, going into that series, the Mets had some magic, so that's that's a big wild card. So I'm not sure. Do you have any exactas other than you have Royals, or you said you have Padres, I'm sorry. Did you play any exactas with it?
No. So I bet the Padres, like I said, 20. I also have from early April, I have the Royals at 100 to 1 to win the American League. So I'm pondering a Yankees Dodgers series parlay, hoping that I lose. And then I can maybe try to, maybe go against one of those teams that would advance again, but then we're getting a little complicated at that point. So I'm with you though. I think the Yankees are coming out of the American League. I just think that they're the best team. It's going to be so difficult to overcome that part of the order, in my opinion. How do you approach that? I mean, just gonna walk? You're gonna walk Judge and Soto every single at bat? You
Hope to
can't do
get,
that.
I think, hope to get Soto out and then walk Judge, and then I mean
You
that's probably
pray. Let's pray we get Soto out.
try to get Soto. I mean, if you get Soto out,
Yeah.
then you don't have to pitch to Judge. I mean, if you can get
Yeah.
him up with 2 out, nobody on, just hey, here's your base. 1 base is better than 4. I mean, that's probably how I'd approach it. I know Judge has not been great in these postseasons, but we've seen a lot of great players, A-Rod and Bonds, be bad postseason players, and then have one postseason where they just, you know what, they get the monkey off their back and they go nuclear. A-Rod, it was
Yeah.
09, and Bonds, I think it was 02 against the Angels in that whole postseason, really.
Yep. I was thinking about this last night for like player, maybe some bets to find, like a play, like I brought up Cheerio earlier, but maybe somebody else. Who's going to be this year's Daniel Murphy? Like the
Right.
guy who just catches, I mean, he's scorching hot the entire postseason, and anything that's even close to the plate, it was rocketed to the outfield or easy, single, whatever.
Yeah, that was a great run. That was 2015, where he was hitting home run after, like, not just hitting home runs, but hitting him off great pitchers. It was Arrieta was the Cy Young winner that year,
Yep.
and Kershaw. I mean, he was just, man, that was
It
a
was so good.
legendary run. Yeah, it really was.
Yep.
And they deserved better in that series too, because they had Kansas City beat in like 3 or 4 of the games. Game 1 blew a late lead. The last one, Lucas Duda throws the ball away. So
Yep.
that was a absolutely a painful one. What is your favorite football bet this week, or some of your favorite football bets?
I don't know. I'm kind of high on the Commanders again this week. I can't trust the Browns at all. I think maybe when you look back at the defense last year, maybe the most fugazi thing in the league could have been Cleveland's defense overall. They played a lot of really bad quarterbacks last year, and they were awesome at home and really bad on the road. And I just think that right now the coaching in Washington and the command that Daniels has on this offense is at the highest level that we can recall for a rookie quarterback. So I don't mind the Commanders again.
Anything in college you like?
I think I'll see where this number goes Friday night for UNLV. If it goes to 7, I think that's maybe a little
I'm
bit
with you.
extreme. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to have UNLV 4 in pocket, but that vanished within 10 seconds. And now if it goes up to 7, I think that's kind of an overreaction, because I think Syracuse is pretty good.
Good passing game. You're going to have film on the UNLV quarterback now, which I think helps. It's a little gimmicky of an offense. They ran Syracuse has faced these types of offenses a couple times too,
Yep.
Georgia Tech and some of these other teams. So I agree. I think that you could get a backdoor cover with Syracuse. I think Syracuse will be right in that game. Any futures, awards, Heisman, NFL MVP, anything that you think is worth betting right now?
I'll give you one. Travis Hunter, first pick in the NFL draft. You want to hold on to a ticket until April?
What's the number on that?
You can find 18 to 1.
That is not bad. Who has that?
FanDuel.
I like that.
There are other books that are offering it as well. A little bit lower than that number. You think at the teams that are going to be drafting near the top, Patriots could be like Travis Hunter has New England Patriots written all over him. Where he could come in, probably more cornerback than wide receiver, but the guy is special on both sides of the ball, man. I mean, we don't see this like ever. Like a shutdown corner, and you could make the case that he's an elite college receiver. I mean, I know he's got to beat out some of these quarterbacks, and teams get quarterback hungry at the top, but man, how do you not love his game?
No, I'm with you. What do you think he does in the NFL? What do you think do you think he plays both?
I think probably a little bit of both. I think probably I would actually lean much more cornerback than wide receiver, but I think you can throw him out there for a little bit of both. Yeah.
The conditioning is just insane too. When you're talking about 113 plays, some of these games, it's just, my goodness. And we've seen guys do it in the past more of like a gimmick, like Woodson would play like a handful of plays on offense, but not like this. This is crazy.
Yeah. What do you think of the Heisman market, by the way?
Is it crazy to take a shot on Beck at this point, like 30 to 1, just because I know he was bad against Bama, but
he was bad for a half. The second half, he was awesome.
Yeah. Exactly. And he still threw for like 350 something yards. Georgia's still going to play a bunch of like high profile games. If that team finishes with 1 loss and he plays great in the other games, I mean, I don't know if he's going to win, but that's just one of these ones, like 30 to 1. That's not going to be 30 to 1 if he plays well the rest of the year. I think he has.
No, I don't hate that angle at all
because
for it. Yeah, no, I know they have, like you said, they have just like 4 or 5 games that are just killer, schedule spots and really, really good teams. And if they navigate it, the only problem is he's going to have Bama then lose at least 1 or 2 games because I think people will not forget how Milroe outplayed him
Right.
in that game. But Bama's schedule is not exactly easy either. They got like 3 or 4 games that are just a total gauntlet. So I don't expect Bama to run the table.
I'm with you. And the recency bias plays in too, where it's like, all right, we're sitting here in October and that game was a week ago, but by December, there's going to be a bunch of things that have happened since where that game is going to be not a distant memory, but it just, if you're back, that I think it works in your favor that you got that out of the way in
Yeah.
September.
Yep. Now, can Hunter win if Colorado loses 4 or 5 games?
I think was it Bruce Feldman, who's a voter, said, hey, if they get to 8, I'm voting for him. He was pretty concrete about that.
Wow.
I think 8's a good number. We're at like 7-5 maybe, but I don't know that they have to make the playoffs, but I think if they went like 8-4 and he's doing what he's doing, I think he'd have a very good chance to get it. I think he'd probably win an 8-4 again, depending on what these other quarterbacks do or don't do.
Sure. How about Genty?
I don't think he gets there. I think he gets like a lot of second. I think he comes in like, I don't know. I just feel like he's too off the grid. I think he'll probably come in like second if he keeps this up. Do you think he can actually win it?
I'm trying to think because Paulie bet him at 10-1. He thinks he can. And the scenario is what if they either run the table, they could maybe lose out here to UNLV, get revenge in the Mountain West Conference game, make the playoff at like 11-2, or what if they made the playoff at 12-1, and he's on pace to beat Barry Sanders' all-time rushing record? If both those things happen, would they give it to a running back from Boise State?
I lean towards no, but again, everything is price dependent. If you get a number that you like and you think is long enough, I can't talk you out of it.
Sure. I mean, what was he before the season started? Triple digits, no question.
Absolutely. Last one. Do you think Georgia at +6? Speaking of Georgia, do you think Georgia at like +650, 7-1? I didn't realize DraftKings went to 9-1 after that loss, which is a complete overreaction. That was a wrong number. I wish I'd seen that. But do you think Georgia's worth jumping in here +650 or anyone to actually win it? Do you think there's value on?
Sure, Georgia can. Why can't they? I mean, look at their performance against Clemson.
And that's aged very nicely. And if they play Bama again on a neutral field, they'd probably be 2.5, 3-point favorites. I mean, look, they were up 1 in the fourth quarter, even though like it was a nightmare game for them. They're up 1 in the fourth quarter in Tuscaloosa. I mean, that's still.
I mean, they walked into a bee's nest. They weren't ready for that. Give DeBoer credit; he had that team completely ready and prepared, and they played an A+ game for the first 30 minutes. And after that, what did we see? Georgia was awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, I could get on board with that team. They make the playoff, they can win the whole thing for sure.
Absolutely, and there's enough wiggle room if you're getting +650. I mean, you could start to monetize that ticket or hedge that ticket, take plus points the other way, things like that. Pretty quickly with that one. Mitch, you're the best, man. Appreciate the time. It was good to catch up. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Follow the money, which is on iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, VSiN.com, a lot of different places from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. On I don't tweet that much, but on Twitter at Mitch Moss Radio.
Mitch, appreciate the time, man. Thanks for coming on.
Will.
All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Mitch Moss. Enjoy the weekend. What a weekend it will be. Playoff baseball, NFL, college football. What a great time of the year. Rate, review, subscribe. See ya on Monday.